All right, guys, so let's begin. Good afternoon and welcome to your BetterGradesFast.com live online tutorial. It's my pleasure to serve you today. Or Rochelle, I do see you twice. Okay, never mind. Second Rochelle is gone again. Okay, so we'll now start our prayer. I politely ask if you are not comfortable with a Christian prayer, please turn your volume down for the next 15 seconds. Heavenly Father, kindly direct me to meet each learner's needs. Please direct each learner to clearly understand all that is necessary for success. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, guys, welcome to the secondary level English class where we are the forms 1 to 5 class. And are you guys ready to have some fun today?
Me, miss.
Lovely. In that case, let's start with our joke of the day. And today's joke is brought to us by Tashan. Why couldn't the elephant go swimming at the pool? Why couldn't the elephant go swimming at the pool? Because he was always losing his trunks. Good one, Tashan.
I have a riddle.
Okay, Rochelle, what's your riddle?
What do you call a snail on a ship?
What do you call a snail on a ship? Any guesses, guys? I don't know, Rochelle. What do you call a snail on a ship?
A snaila.
Good one. All right, guys. Thanks, Rochelle. All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about our modifiers. So we're continuing our topic of grammar errors in sentences that we may or may not make, but we don't want to make them anymore, right? And we looked at modifiers in our last couple classes. Today we're going to talk about the dangling modifiers. But before we do that, of course, we need to revise what we've learned. That means that we're going to start our Kahoot revision cycle.
Miss, can you change the settings for us to see it this time?
To see what?
Like the question.
Is that possible?
Yes, Miss.
What? Okay, I don't know how to do that. I'll have to Google it. All right, so I will do it for our next Kahoot, okay? Because I didn't even know that was an option. But for now, we'll use the same format we've been using before. So just look at the screen here on Zoom for the question, and preferably if you have another device, it's going to be pretty useful for you to give a quick response, as you will have to choose your correct color. All right, so let's get some persons in the game. We have our game pin up. We have pizza already. Oh no, we have your mom. We have heartbreak, okay? A mood, honestly. Why all the sad emojis, guys? Let's get some happy names. All right, we have Latoya. We have your dad. All right, I think we're waiting on 3 more players. Aw, sad bread, dude.
What about your aunt?
Yeah, like we might as well just have all the family members. Okay, 1 more minute for those of us who aren't in yet to come into the game. Okay, I believe we're just missing 1 person. Alright guys, we need to start the game. So we're going to start now. You can always jump in while the game is going on if you would like. Last person. Alright, so let's look at the first question. What is a modifier? And you have a minute to answer this question. Remember, the faster you respond correctly, the more points you're able to get. Alright, so guys, we looked at modifiers before, and we looked at them in terms of words, phrases, and clauses that describe the noun or something that it modifies in your sentence. So your aunt is at this top of the scoreboard at the moment. Let's go into our second round. So we've done this type of modifier, we've named it. We said it occurs when the subject of the modifier is unclear. For this one, we don't have that much time. Three, two, right. So this is a misplaced modifier, right? Today we said we're going to look at the dangling modifier. Disruptive and limiting modifiers also exist, but the type we have been talking about this entire time is the misplaced one. All right, look at our scoreboard. Let's go again. Which word in the sentence is the modifier? He nearly drove the car for 6 hours a day. Beautiful, guys. Nearly is the modifier. We can shift nearly all over our sentence, and it can give the sentence a new meaning each time. All right, so your aunt is on a streak right now at the top of the scoreboard, but your mom is very close behind. These names are so funny. Okay, so what is the correct use of the modifier among these four choices? All right, excellent job, guys. He drove the car for nearly 6 hours a day. That makes the most grammatical sense for this sentence. Excellent. We had a change in scoreboard. Latoya and Pizza have earned higher ranks. All right, let's go again. Which word in this sentence is the modifier? People who laugh rarely are sad. Right, so really is our modifier. It is modifying or describing the verb laugh. All right, so we're halfway there. Let's look at round 6. Which sentence is not a misplaced modifier? In other words, which of them is phrased correctly? All right, so we actually had the minority of responses for the correct choice. Okay, so on the way to the store, she saw a moose versus she saw a moose on the way to the store. So saying that she saw a moose on the way to the store makes it sound that the moose was on the way to the store, right? So we do not actually mean that for our sentence. We want to say that she was on the way to the store and she saw a moose. The moose wasn't going shopping, guys. So that's an example of the misplaced modifier. All right, so sad bread dude has risen in rank. Get it? Risen bread. And your aunt is still at the top. Okay, let's go again. So which is the correct sentence here? There we go, guys. The fans stood in line for 20 minutes to buy tickets to the show. Not, the fans stood in line to buy tickets to the show for 20 minutes. It makes it sound like the show is only 20 minutes long. So that's an example of the misplaced modifier. So blue was our correct answer. Beautiful. We have just a few more rounds left, just a couple. Again, pick the sentence that does not contain a misplaced modifier. Lovely. So we don't want to say the woman in the silver frame because it sounds like it's the woman that's in the frame, but it's actually the picture that's in the frame. So red was our response. Okay, guys, second to last round. Good. So the gold cap should modify the pen, not the essays. Your mom is making a comeback with 3 in a row. Your aunt is still at the top. Alright, sad bread dude is still third. Let's go with our last round. Right, so Ted could see the airplane using binoculars makes it sound that binoculars is modifying the airplane. So the airplane is not the one using the binoculars, right? It's actually Ted. So binoculars should modify Ted. So using binoculars, Ted could see the airplane. Exactly. Why is the airplane using binoculars, right? Okay, so this is our podium. Sad bread dude is in third, your mom is in second place, and your aunt is at the top of the podium. Runners up are your uncle and Latoya. Excellent job, guys. You all did an amazing job with your misplaced modifiers. Okay, guys, so as said before, today we will be looking at the dangling modifiers. And it's really good that I know you all are at a good stage with your with your misplaced modifiers, because the dangling ones take it one step further.
Excuse me, miss.
Hi, Rochelle.
Can you excuse me for a little while? I'm going to the toilet.
No problem. All right, guys, so we are going to look at, dangling modifiers. Right, so what is a dangling modifier? Of course, we need to know what it is before we start talking about it. So it is a phrase or a clause that is not clearly related to the word it modifies. Remember, when we speak about modifying, we mean describing. Right? So this is really just saying that it is not next to the word it describes. Okay, so unlike a misplaced modifier, we cannot correct this one by just shifting around our sentence. right? So these are two important points about the dangling modifiers. So this is the first one. Let me just write it for you guys.
Miss, I'm back.
All right. Hi, Rochelle. Welcome back. Right. So unlike a misplaced modifier, a dangling one cannot be corrected by shifting your sentence. Okay. Also, your dangling modifier error may occur at the beginning of the sentence. However, it can also make an appearance at the end of your sentence. So in most cases, which means of course not all, but the majority, okay, so when you guys are done taking your screenshot or taking your note in some form, whichever you choose to do, let's look at an example of this dangling modifier and see what this is all about and how it's different, okay? So I'll give you guys a minute to wrap up with this note and then we'll look at the example. All right, guys, can I move the page?
No.
Okay, I'll give you guys one more minute.
Miss, finish.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to move this, guys, and we'll look at the example, right? So what do we know about the dangling modifier? That it's a little bit different from the misplaced one because we can't correct it by just shifting around our sentence. We also know that it mostly appears at the beginning of the sentence. So let's look at an example of this to really understand what we mean. Right, so this is our example. Looking toward the west, a funnel-shaped cloud stirred up dust. Now, if you read the sentence, who is looking towards the west? It sounds like it's the cloud, right? Because it comes right after our phrase here. However, we know that the cloud can't look towards any direction, right? And there's nothing modifying looking towards the west. So because of that, looking toward the west becomes a dangling modifier. It is not next to the word that it is trying to modify, because we know that it cannot be modifying the cloud. So how do we fix this then? We can say instead, so then after your dangling modifier, you want to now insert something for this to modify. So we can say I saw, keep it simple, I saw a funnel-shaped cloud. Sorry, I saw that a funnel-shaped cloud stirred up dust. So looking towards the west here is no longer dangling, it's just a modifier, and it's modifying I. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, miss.
All right, what about everyone else in the class? Does that make sense to you guys? We call it a dangling, right? We call it a dangling modifier because it's just kind of dangling and not really next to anything. But once we give it something to modify, it's no longer dangling, it's just a modifier. So we see that it's a bit different to the misplaced modifier, because in the misplaced modifier, we have everything in our sentence, we just need to shift some parts of it around. But for this, you need to now introduce something new in order for it to not be dangling anymore. So let's look at another one. Tell me what's wrong with this sentence. Tell me what is the dangling modifier here. So this is our sentence. When 9 years old, my mother enrolled in university. On first glance, what does this sentence seem to be telling us?
That your mother enrolled you in university when you were 9 years old.
Okay, good. And we know that's probably not the case, right? So as Leanne has pointed out, when 9 years old is our dangling modifier. right? So instead, we can fix this and say when I was 9 years old, my mother enrolled in university. Notice we don't have a me there, right? So we're talking about my mother as the one who actually enrolled, but she did so when I was 9 years old, not when she was 9. Right? So we can insert something actually in our modifier as well. It doesn't have to be next to. Some instances will call for you to do it within that phrase or that clause, whichever one it is, right? So you want to make sure that the meaning of your sentence is coming out really, really clearly. Right, so I'm just going to leave this up for a couple of minutes, and at this point, I'm going to launch a poll for you guys. Tell me if you're feeling confused about this. All right, perfect. Looking good.
When set from size,
Sorry, Rochelle, could you repeat that?
Miss, when is CSEC English for Form 4 and 5 starting?
This is forms 1 to 5. So CSEC English is included in this session.
Okay, Miss.
All right, guys. So this was showing you two different ways to correct your dangling modifier, right? So your first way was to leave the modifier as is. And then insert after. And then our second way was a little bit different, right? We changed the dangling modifier to a subordinate clause. So when I was 9 years old, this went from being a phrase to being a subordinate clause. That just means that we have a subject, we have a verb, and we have a subordinating conjunction at the beginning of the clause. So two methods to correct the dangling modifier. One, leave the modifier as is and then make your additions after the modifier. Or two, create a subordinate clause from the dangling modifier. So I'm just going to put DM. You guys know that's what dangling modifier is when I put DM. All right, so those are our two correction methods to keep in mind. And I want us to practice now with a couple more sentences.
Miss, finish.
Perfect. So let's look at a couple sentences. Keep in mind your two methods to correct your dangling modifier. Oh my gosh, this marker is so bipolar.
Miss, did you try the tip I gave you?
I did, it worked. This is actually the same marker. So I did get some life out of it after that. Okay, so walking to the movies, the cloudburst drenched Jim. We have a dangling modifier here, so I want you guys to tell me how we can fix it for our sentence to make sense.
Miss, I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's identify the dangling modifier. What is it? Does anyone know? What's the dangling modifier here? Remember, it most often appears at the beginning of your sentence. Yes, Tishan?
Miss, is it walking to the movies?
Mm-hmm. So walking to the movies is our DM, dangling modifier. But who was walking to the movies? Remember, the word that is modifying should be next to the modifier, right? It's Jim, right? So how can we rephrase the sentence so that Jim is being modified? All right, so excellent job, Leanne. Leanne says, when Jim was walking to the movies, the cloud burst, drenched, and we can substitute Jim for the pronoun him because we already mentioned his name. So this is what the second method that we used, right? Where we took the dangling modifier and we created a new subordinate clause. So we have in this clause our subject, Jim. We have our verb. We have two verbs actually, was and walking. And we also have the subordinating conjunction. Yes, Rochelle?
Your key look like a bee.
What looks like a bee?
Walking, instead of a K, you have a B. It looks
Oh
like
yeah,
a
it does look like a bee. It looks like Walbing. Okay, so it's actually walking. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's just try one more really quickly. Okay, so having been fixed the night before, Susan could use the car. So first we have to identify our dangling modifier. It's usually very easy to identify because most times we would see the comma right after it. Yes, Tishan?
Miss.
Go ahead, Tishan.
Will the modifier, the dangling modifier be having been fixed the night before?
Good job. Rochelle, did you want to say something as well?
Miss, I was about to say that.
All right, well, maybe you can answer my next question. What is this haven't been fixed the night before? What is that supposed to modify in the sentence? Is it Susan? Because Susan comes right after.
This is the car.
Right. So we want to actually have the car somewhere in here. So how can we now rephrase this sentence so that we no longer have a dangling modifier? Go ahead, Tishan.
Yes, I'm not sure. What is it? Since the car had been fixed the night before, Susan could use it.
Beautiful. Perfect. Excellent. So we start with a subordinating conjunction because remember we're creating a subordinate clause. So since, and then we must include the thing we're modifying, of course. So since the car had been fixed the night before, then we can continue and say Susan could use it. And here we have our beautiful subordinating clause. I know it's a little bit tricky to grasp at first, right? But when you really learn the skill, it becomes a lot easier to figure out how we can really rearrange and put in to the sentence for it to no longer have a dangling modifier. All right, so we have a request for one more. So let's do one more quickly. Okay, so I'm just moving this. So I'll give you guys an easy one. Remember, we have two different ways to correct a dangling modifier. So this one is going to use the second way. Right, so first let's identify the dangling modifier. So what is it for this sentence? While exercising at the gym, my shirt tore. So we'll look at while exercising at the gym as our dangling modifier, and we ask ourselves, while exercising at the gym, who or what is that modifying? Is it my shirt? Was my shirt exercising? No. So how can we fix this? We can fix this in two ways. Go ahead, Tishan.
Is it while I was exercising at the gym, my shoe tore?
Yes. So that's one way we can do it. So while I was exercising at the gym, my shirt tore. Or as Leanne has, which is also correct, we can say simply, my shirt tore while I was exercising at the gym, right? But we still need to include that pronoun I, because otherwise we're just going to be modifying my shirt, and we definitely don't want to be doing that. All right, guys, so I know that it's quite new, it's quite different to the misplaced modifier. It's a little bit trickier, but I think you guys are doing well. And when we meet again in our Wednesday class, we'll practice it a little bit more and become masters of the modifiers. All right, so before I end here, does anyone have any questions?
Excuse me, Miss, are we continuing the same thing or no?
So we're supposed to enter our standard 1 to 3 session now. We'll continue this next Wednesday. Yes, Tishan?
Miss, when is the last class for this term?
I'm actually not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, Miss.
That's a good question. Okay, guys, so if there are no more questions, we've come to the end of this tutorial. It was a pleasure serving you today. Please take a minute to fill in the quality control questions that will appear when the meeting ends. So thank you guys for choosing BetterGradesFast.com. Excellent job today, and do have a blessed day.
Same to you, Miss. Bye.
Bye. So our standards 1 to 3 class will begin in just a couple seconds, okay guys?
Bye, Miss.
Bye, Rochelle. Okie dokes, my artichokes. Let's begin this thing. So welcome to your BetterGradesFast.com live online tutorial. It is a pleasure to serve you today. We'll now start our prayer. I politely ask if you're not comfortable with a Christian prayer, please lower your volume for the next 15 seconds. Heavenly Father, kindly direct me to meet each learner's needs. Please direct each learner to clearly understand all that's necessary for success. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, so welcome again to Standards 1 to 3. Of course, if you are older and in a higher standard, this class is still for you. It's really good review for the SCA exam that's coming up really quickly. So I am ready to have some fun today. What about you guys? Perfect. In that case, let's start with our joke of the day. And today's joke is brought to you by Bryson. Why did the sparrow go to the library? Why did the sparrow go to the library? Because it was hunting for bookworms. All right, guys. So in our last Wednesday session, we had a look at prepositions. We did a little bit of review. We reviewed the uses of prepositions, and in particular, we looked at in, on, and at. Today, for our revision cycle, we have a Kahoot game lined up, and it's going to test not just those three, but some other prepositions as well. So, without further ado, let me share my screen with you. Oh my gosh, I just rhymed. So this is our game code, the game pin actually. So you guys can go ahead and enter with a fun nickname. You can keep it anonymous, keep it funny. Aw, cute. Easter Bunny. Easter is coming up. We have a smiley. Come on, SE students. You guys need to join. We need to do a little bit of preposition review. All right, anonymous. Nice. We'll wait for 2 more persons to enter, and then we'll start our game. SE student. Wow, I wonder who Caleb is. Okay, so let's start, and if anyone else is coming in, you can join, but you're not gonna get a head start like these guys. So today we have a few rounds. This is just a reminder to you guys about what a preposition is. It's a word or group of words that we use before a noun, pronoun, or noun phrase to show a lot of different things, such as direction, time, place, and location, or to introduce an object. So let's start our quiz. Choose the appropriate preposition. All right, perfect. So we will never say famous of, right? We'll say famous for. Really random, but I found an opossum in my yard last night, and it was very cute. Okay, so opossums are famous for pretending to be dead. Okay, so this is our scoreboard for our first round, but we have a few more rounds to go. So let's see what else we have. Beautiful. So many biologists dream of finding a completely new species. I know we in the Caribbean may say dream for, however, that is incorrect, right? We dream of certain things. Good job, guys. Let's go again. Double points this time. Alright, so after years of trying, he's finally succeeded in solving the problem. Right? So we don't say succeeded with solving, we'll say succeeded in solving. And we never use the article to next to a verb that is in the ing form, right? To will always go with the infinitive. So to solve to drink, to eat, to laugh, right? So it will go with the root form of the verb, and it's the infinitive. All right, look at our scoreboard go. Nice streak, Caleb. Let's go again. Okay, so remember what I just said, guys. We never use to when we have the ing form of the verb. So notice we have spending. If we had spend, then we would use to. But because we do not have spend, we have spending, we will say they have decided on spending so much money on saving one animal. So make a note of that, that's really important. To will never go in front of a verb unless it is the root form of the verb, meaning nothing is added to it. Right? Confirm for me in the chat if you understand before we move on. All right, perfect, guys. So Anonymous is now on a streak. Excellent, Anonymous. Let's go with our next round. Right, good job, everyone. I'm sorry for forgetting to phone you yesterday. All right. Smiley has the highest answer streak at the moment, coming for Anonymous's place. Okay, let's go again. Right, so after such a long time away, they were looking forward to, right? You will always have that phrase, looking forward to. Does not go with any other preposition. Oh, look at these ranks. Let's go again, guys. For double points this round. All right, perfect, everyone. Well, this is a much better way. Why didn't I think of doing it like this before? That reminds me a lot of math. But of is what we needed here. Caleb, you're making a comeback. All right, good job. Anonymous, Smiley, Caleb, SCA students, and Neh are at the top of our scoreboard at the moment. We have a few more rounds to go. Good job, everyone. So we have that verb darken. The sky began to darken. Right. Round 10. Okay, so We wouldn't say, do you take a nap at in the afternoon? Oh, I already had the answer there, my bad. But do you ever take a nap in the afternoon? So you can say in the afternoon, right? In the morning. So different time of day. At really refers to location more than the times or night times. All right, look at those points. Anonymous with 10,274. All right, let's go again. This is our 11th round. Good job, guys. So you can see the stars at night, right? We wouldn't say in night, we wouldn't say on night. If we, however, had, you can see the stars in the night time, that would change our sentence a little bit and we would have a different preposition that we use. We could use in there. But because we just have night, we can say at. All right, one more round. Whoa, Anonymous has been dethroned. Fierce competition for first place. Let's see who gets it after our last round. Beautiful, everyone got this one. My father stays home on Saturdays. So let's see our podium. In third place, we have Caleb. Congrats, Caleb. Second place, we had Anonymous. And our first place winner today was Smiley Face. Runners up with SCE student Anna.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique. Woohoo!
All right, beautiful job, guys. Really, really excellent with your prepositions. So we learned a couple of things even in our revision cycle, right? We use to with the infinitive of the verb. Okay, so we are switching away from prepositions and we had a highly requested topic, which was pronouns. So today we're going to look a little bit at the pronoun uses, and sometimes we don't know what pronoun to use, especially our personal pronouns. Sometimes they can get a little bit tricky, right? So we are going to look at specifically me and I. I know that this one sometimes gives some of you some trouble in the grammar section. So we're going to find out the hacks and the tricks to make sure that we never make a mistake again when we have to use either of these two pronouns. Right? So guys, the key to having good pronoun agreement is being aware of your subject pronouns and your object pronouns. Of course, your subject pronouns will appear when they perform the action in the sentence, and the object pronouns will receive the action. Now, a lot of us get a bit confused about whether to use me or I, right? The trick is, okay, let me give you an example before we look at a trick. right? So in the exam, you might see a sentence that says, she gave Jim, and maybe they might have me, maybe they might have I in the sentence, extra cookies. And you're trying to figure out, is it something wrong in this sentence? Is this the error here? Sometimes you might get fooled. So I'm going to give you guys a sure way to always get this right. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so to check for the correct the correct pronoun, what we will do is ignore if we have two subjects or two objects or whatever the case is, we ignore the first one. And if we ignore the first one, we should be able to figure out using just me or I, which one makes sense. So she gave me extra cookies. We will not say she gave I extra cookies. Jim is probably going to confuse you a bit. So we will just block him out for now. Some of us have some trouble figuring out the subject and the object of the sentence. So this is a really good hack in the event that you're not quite sure whether your pronoun should be a subject or object pronoun, right? So this is an easy one, but she gave Jim and me extra cookies. Of course, the best way to do this is to analyze and break down your sentence. Look for your verb. This is your action. Then you ask the question, who is performing the action? And it is she. Another great way to figure it out, if you have a subject pronoun already in your sentence, you can't have another subject pronoun unless it comes directly after your first subject pronoun. So she, we know, is a subject pronoun. And the object pronoun to she will be her. Right? So because we have she, that's another really, really big clue saying, okay, she has to be the subject of the sentence. And we know that she is performing the action. She gave who? Who is receiving the action of this person? Jim, and we have to say me, because me is our object. Does that make sense, guys? All right, good, good, good. So let's try a few more. Wait, let me know if you guys are done with this and then I'll move on. Okay, good. Sometimes you might have a sentence with you or it as the pronoun, and that's a little bit harder because you and it can be both subject and object pronouns. Okay, Rochelle, your hand is up. What's your answer? Oops, let me give you the mic. Just give me 1 second. All right, go ahead, Rochelle.
Miss, is it Kerry or Kemy?
It's Kerry, Kerry.
Miss, I can't believe you have my brother name up there.
Oh, really? What a coincidence. Okay, so we look at it again. We don't know what the subject is and we don't know what the object is because you is throwing us off completely, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to block out the other person who was named, and then we are going to substitute I and me into the sentence and see which one of them is going to fit in better. Will you help I to clean up? Or will you help me to clean up? Of course, right? So, will you help Carrie and me to clean up? Even though it sounds like it should be I, when we really use our hack and we block out Carrie and then we look at the sentence, if it makes sense, we realize, okay, it needs to be me. Is that a little bit better for some of you? I know some of you struggle when sentences are phrased like this, especially if we have you. So let me know, guys, is this helpful to you?
Yes, Miss.
All right, perfect. Lovely. I love to hear that. Okay, so that was just the I versus me hack that I wanted to share with you guys, especially the SCA students, right? And now we are going to look at relative pronouns. So I noticed that some of us are still struggling with using appropriate relative pronouns, right? So that's okay. I'm here to make it all better, guys. So the relative pronouns are the very weird ones because they don't really refer to persons or anything in particular. They refer to what is being said before, right? So it's not like the personal pronouns that we are very familiar with. Yes, so who versus whom gives a lot of trouble, as well as which versus that. So those are the two pairs we'll be looking at. Who versus whom, and then which versus that. So we know that who is used for referring to the subject of the sentence, and whom refers to the object of the sentence. Okay, so we have this sentence. I always have a difficult time with people chew with their mouths open. So we have who, whom, which, and that. We definitely are not going to use which or that, right? Because which and that are not really our first options, our first picks when it comes to referring to persons. When we refer to persons, we want to mainly look at these two, who versus whom. So we've narrowed it down to these two. Let's look at our sentence and see if we can figure out which one we should use. Good job, Vienna. Vienna's already gotten it. So,
Miss who?
who? Who? Yes. So good job, Rochelle. Good job, Vienna. So I always have a difficult time with people who chew with their mouths open. Right? So in this case, we are looking at the subject of the sentence in terms of who the sentence is about. So even though we have this pronoun I, and we know I is the subject, the sentence is really about the persons who chew with their mouths open, right? Remember, your subject can be one of two things. It can be either the person performing your action or the person or persons or thing that the sentence is about. So in the case of this one, we will actually be focusing on the people who chew with their mouths open. And because of that, we'll refer to them using who. I know it's a little bit confusing. So let's look at another one. Okay, 1 second, guys. Okay, so we saw the teacher with who or whom we had spoken earlier. All right, good job, Vienna, Leanne, and Sajida. So for this one, we will actually choose whom, right? Because we are referring to the teacher, right? And we have we is our subject here, right? But who is this sentence really about? The teacher. The teacher, though, is being referred to as the object. We is our subject. Right? So we are referring to the object of our sentence, the teacher. We saw the teacher with whom we had spoken earlier. So let's switch gears a little bit and look at which versus that, right? Because that one is also a little bit tricky for some of us. So we have which and we have that. While they seem very, very similar, one of them refers to important information in your sentence, while the other refers to information that you can do without in the sentence. So if you can remove the clause without destroying the meaning of the sentence, you can use which. So which usually is followed by a non-essential clause. But we use that because what follows that is essential to the sentence. Right? So when we have which, most of the time it looks like this. You guys know I get hungry around this time, right? And I start talking a lot about food. Our favorite restaurant, which served delicious cookies closed last week. Okay, so let's look at the clause that is followed from which, right? That follows which. So we have which, and then the phrase is served delicious cookies. If we were to take this out of the sentence completely, we are left with our favorite restaurant closed last week. So taking that out is actually not going to destroy our sentence at all. So that means we can label which served delicious cookies as not important to the sentence. Usually, you would also see these commas separating your clause, right? Versus that. So the clause that follows that is usually quite important for your sentence. So let me just think about one. So we have dogs that bark scare me. So if we were to take out the clause that follows that, we will basically be taking out the entire sentence, right? So we need it. It's essential for our sentence to not be destroyed. Is everyone following? Exactly, Sajida. So if we took out even that bark, if we took out just that, and we had dogs scare me, it would completely change the meaning of the sentence, and we don't want that to happen because the sentence means that only dogs that bark are the ones that scare me. But if we say dogs scare me, that is generalizing to all dogs, which is not the meaning of the sentence. So that would be incorrect. Okay, so let's do just one more thing that I want to show you guys. So I can phrase the same thing in a way that can use both which and that. So I'll show you what I mean. I want you guys to tell me where I should put which and where I should put that. Okay, so in which sentence should I include the pronoun that? Excellent, Leanne. So we will say the shirt that is blue is my favorite because that's really important for us to know that the shirt is blue, right? So we need to have this. This is an essential part of the sentence, so we use that. But we can say the shirt is my favorite color, which is blue. So we could actually do without this, which is blue. saying that the shirt is my favorite color, that's actually fine, right? So that is considered non-essential, and because of that, we include which. Another big clue was that we did have this comma in front of it, and that usually indicates that we should use which instead of that. And that is really all I wanted to share with you guys for pronouns. So we looked at a few problematic areas in pronouns, and I know we do not have another Wednesday class because next Wednesday is a holiday, a public holiday, but you guys can still let me know what topics you would like to review in terms of grammar before the exam, and we can get a crash course in at some point in one of our other sessions. Okay, so does anyone have any questions before we end? Okay, Sajida, what's your question? Oh, yes, thanks for the reminder, guys. If you are in the process of prepping for the exam and you are writing reports or you're doing practice papers and you don't understand something, you don't understand why you're getting it wrong, you can always send me an email, right? This is the email, englishtutor@cxc.me. You can send any work that you want corrected, and I will be happy to help. And I'll try to reply as quickly as I can as well. All right, guys. So just letting you know that the extra help is here if you do need it. And if anyone has any other questions, you can ask really quickly before we end. All right, I think we are okay for now. It seems that way at least. So guys, we've come to the end of this tutorial. It was a pleasure serving you today. Please take a minute to fill in the quality control questions that will appear when the meeting ends. Tell us what you would like us to do differently and how we can improve to better serve you. Thanks for choosing BetterGradesFast.com. Do have a blessed day and enjoy your math class, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, Miss.